another dope episode of The Black Sheep with my co-host Miss Raya.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
Miss Raya, where you at?
I'm here.
We are here. My boy Mike from On the Mic with Mike is not here today, unfortunately.
Mike.
But he will be with us once again very soon. Okay, so shout out to Mike. You can follow him on all social media platforms. I'm _A_Brown_God. Thank you for tuning in today. We got a crazy show for you guys. We are actually following the George Floyd trial, the Derek Chauvin file. Chauvin, right?
Chauvin, yeah.
Yeah, his trial. We want to play this clip as soon as possible. This is a 24-minute clip, so please get ready because we have an amazing show for you guys right now. We're gonna get right into it.
Let's go.
So, basically, George Floyd passed away last year over being strangled by police officers. And now we're watching his trials. It's like, it's crazy, but we're just gonna watch.
Yeah, this is his this is the actual representative attorney for what's his name, Derek Chauvin.
Yeah.
And this is his opening statement.
I think this is please pay attention to what this man is saying.
Listen to the details.
Right.
About doubt. But for purposes of my remarks this morning, I want to talk about reason and common sense and how that applies to the evidence that you're about to see during the course of this trial. Reason is an idea that wholly permeates our law, our legal system, and it forms the foundation. And you will see and hear that repeatedly throughout the course of this trial.
Okay, wait till
What would a reasonable police officer do? What is a reasonable use of force? What would a reasonable person do in his or her most important affairs? What is a reasonable doubt? As such, reason dictates and necessitates how the evidence must be looked at and analyzed in every single case. And common sense is exactly that. It's common sense. Common sense tells you that there are always two sides to a story. Common sense tells us that we need to examine the totality of the circumstances to determine the meaning of evidence and how it can be applied to the questions of reasonableness of actions and reactions. In other words, common sense is the application of sound judgment based upon a reasoned analysis. And that's what this case is ultimately about. It's about the evidence in this case. The evidence that you will see in this case during this trial. It is, I agree with counsel for the state, it is nothing more than that. There is no political or social cause in this courtroom. But the evidence is far greater than 9 minutes and 29 seconds. In this case, you will learn that the evidence has been collected broadly and expansively. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension employed nearly 50 case agents, analysts, and technicians to investigate this case. The Federal Bureau of Investigation included at least 28 additional agents in their investigation. These agents combined have engaged in an extensive and far-reaching investigation. They have interviewed over 50 members of the Minneapolis Police Department, including the officers who responded to the scene after Mr. Floyd was brought to the hospital. They interviewed members of the Minneapolis Police Department command staff. They interviewed officers who oversee training and policy-making decisions within the Minneapolis Police Department. They have interviewed nearly 200 civilian witnesses in this case. Some of these witnesses saw the entire incident, some who saw a portion of the incident, many who saw nothing, and some who had some piece of information to give to the officers, and others who had nothing. These agents interviewed the numerous medical personnel who who attended to Mr. Floyd, and they interviewed the numerous firefighters and paramedics who responded. Agents executed approximately a dozen search warrants in this case to gather information. And in the end, you will hear a term throughout, I believe, this case called the Bates stamp number. The Bates stamp system is a way for lawyers to keep track of the case, to make sure that we are working from the same set of documents, the same set of evidence, to preserve the integrity of the investigation. You will learn that we are approaching 50,000 Bates stamped items. So this case is clearly more than about 9 minutes and 29 seconds. As you all saw during jury selection, the witness list in this case neared 400 people. So how do we begin to analyze and organize this evidence? I suggest that you let common sense and reason guide you. I propose that every witness you will hear from and every piece of evidence that you will see or hear during this trial can be assigned to one of 4 basic locations: Cup Foods, Mercedes-Benz, Squad 320, and Hennepin County Medical Center. So let's start at the first, Cup Foods. You will learn that on May 25th, 2020, shortly after 7:00 p.m., Mr. Floyd and his friend Maurice Hall entered the Cup Foods located at 38th in Chicago. While they were there, they ran into their other friend, or Mr. Floyd's ex-girlfriend, Shawanda Hill, and he offered her a ride. You will hear from Chris Martin, who is the store clerk at Cup Foods. Mr. Martin observed Mr. Floyd. He watched his body language. He interacted with Mr. Floyd in this moment. And Mr. Martin formed the opinion that Mr. Floyd was under the influence of something. You will see the actual video from inside Cup Foods.
What?
Mr. Floyd did use a counterfeit $20 bill to purchase a pack of cigarettes. Mr. Martin realized this, and first, along with another one of his co-workers named Nabil Walter, went outside to the car where Mr. Floyd, Mr. Hall, and Miss Hill were sitting. Mr. Martin asked Mr. Floyd to come in and either buy the cigarettes, exchange, or return the cigarettes. Then you will hear from Mr. Martin that Mr. Hall and Mr. Floyd refused. You will hear that a short time later, Mr. Martin went back to the car a second time. He went back to ask them again, please come inside, give us the money, or return the cigarettes. And that second time, again, Mr. Floyd refused. So, at 8:01 p.m., a second clerk from the Cup Foods, named Omar Camara, called 911 to report Mr. Floyd. And during that call, Mr. Camara, you will hear, described Mr. Floyd as drunk and that he could not control himself. He's not acting right. He's 6 to 6.5 feet tall.
That's crazy.
Accordingly, Minneapolis police officers Thomas Lane and Alexander King were dispatched to the scene and arrived at 8:08 p.m. They were driving Minneapolis Squad Car 320, and they faced parking southbound in the northbound lane of Chicago Avenue and were directed by store employees immediately to the second location, the Mercedes-Benz. During this trial, you will hear evidence of what happened in the Mercedes-Benz in the 20 to 30 minutes prior to the police arriving. You will hear from Mr. Floyd's friends, Shawanda Hill and Maurice Hall. This will include evidence that while they were in the car, Mr. Floyd consumed what were thought to be 2 Percocet pills. Mr. Floyd's friends will explain that Mr. Floyd fell asleep in the car and that they couldn't wake him up, that they kept trying to wake him up to get going, that they thought the police might be coming because now the store was coming out, and they kept trying to wake him up. And in fact, one of these friends called her daughter, Shawanda Hill called her daughter, Shakira Prince, to come and pick her up because they couldn't keep Mr. Floyd awake.
Oh, no, they not. No, they
At
didn't.
8:09
Now they
p.m.,
doing too much. I'm sorry.
Officers
they
Lane
doing too
and King
much.
approached
That's
the
why they
vehicle,
paid them that
and
much.
Officer Lane approached the driver's side of the vehicle, and Officer King approached the passenger side. During the course of this trial, you will see and hear the body-worn cameras of these officers that fully capture the entire interaction with Mr. Floyd and his friends. You will see Officer Lane draw his service weapon after Mr. Floyd failed several times to respond to his commands to show him his hands. You will learn that that is an acceptable police practice. You will see the officers struggle with Mr. Floyd to get him out of the Mercedes-Benz and handcuffed. And you will see and hear everything that these officers and Mr. Floyd say to each other. The evidence will show that when confronted by police, Mr. Floyd put drugs in his mouth in an effort to conceal them from the
You're trying to
police.
say he OD. That's
At
foul.
approximately 8:10 p.m., Officer Peter Chang of the Minneapolis Park Police
Why you
responds.
give his family $27 million?
He responds to the scene to assist Officers King and Lane, and he helps in detaining the passengers.
$27 million.
You will see
Trying to give us
Officer
time.
Chang's
Stop.
body-worn camera, and you will hear his interactions. This becomes important as we learn about police practices, because what you will learn is that when an officer responds to what is sometimes a routine and minimal event, it often evolves into a greater and more serious event. You will see surveillance videos near Squad 320 from a local business called the Dragon Walk that capture the actions and reactions of everyone present at that location, including evidence of further concealment of controlled substances. During the course of the investigation, 2 search warrants were executed on the Mercedes-Benz. The first on May 27th of 2020, the second several months later on December 9th of 2020. BCA agents located various pieces of evidence during both of these searches, including 2 pills that later analysis by the BCA revealed to be a mixture of methamphetamine and fentanyl. This is what's called a speedball, a mixture of an opiate and a stimulant.
Does that?
You will learn that these
Don't do that.
pills
This
were
is a lot.
manufactured to have the
This is not
appearance
even a
of
believable
Percocet.
lie.
While standing next to the Mercedes-Benz, Officer King and Officer Lane both asked Mr. Floyd what he was on.
What?
And he
was
says
crazy.
he is on nothing.
Who's in there for the bomb?
Officer King and Lane escorted Mr. Floyd to the 3rd location, Minneapolis Squad 320.
He said me with a straight ass face.
The evidence will show that as Officers King and Lane escorted Mr. Floyd to their squad car, a citizen by the name of Charles McMillian walked alongside them. He kind of joined them. And he was encouraging Mr. Floyd to cooperate with the officers. Get in the car, you can't win. The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd and the officers began to struggle as they attempted to get him in the squad car. And you will learn that Officers Derek Chauvin and his partner Tu Tao arrived to assist Officers King and Lane at 8:16 and 48 seconds, almost 8:17. Upon their arrival, the first thing that Officer Chauvin sees is Officers King and Lane struggling with Mr. Floyd. Mr. Chauvin asked the officers, "Is he under arrest?" "Yes." And then Officer Chauvin began to assist them in their efforts to get him into the squad car. You will see that 3 Minneapolis police officers could not overcome the strength of Mr. Floyd. Mr. Chauvin stands 5'9", 140 pounds. Mr. Floyd is 6'3", weighs 223 pounds. You will learn that because of this intersection at 38th and Chicago is considered a high crime area, the city installs what's called a milestone video system. It's a camera that sits high atop a pole and can surveil the entire intersection. When you see these videos pulled back from afar, you will be able to see the Minneapolis Police Squad car rocking back and forth during this struggle.
Okay.
So much so that it catches the attention of the 911 dispatcher, Jenna Scurry. This was not an easy struggle.
Okay.
As the struggle continues, you will see and hear both what Mr. Floyd was saying to the officers and the officers' responses to him.
Let's talk about the murder, because this is what he's
Mr.
on
Floyd
trial
does end
for.
up on the street and appeared to continue to struggle to these officers, so much so that they considered applying what's called the maximal restraint technique. It used to be called the hobble or the hog tie.
Don't support that. We ain't right here.
Mr. Chauvin used his knee to pin Mr. Floyd's left shoulder blade and back to the ground, and his right knee to pin Mr. Floyd's left arm to the ground. Officer King was placed below Mr. Floyd's buttocks, and Officer Lane was at the feet. And you will see and hear them continue to struggle with Mr. Floyd as he's attempting to kick. You will see and hear that a crowd begins to develop, watching and recording officers, initially fairly passive. As the situation went on, the crowd began to grow angry.
Why didn't they pick him up?
But here's what you will also see and hear. You will see and hear the conversation between the officers behind the squad.
Why didn't you stop?
The
He stopped
crowd is
fighting.
not aware of what they are saying and doing.
He started trying to resist.
You will learn
You
that
was supposed to
several
be like, okay, so
bystanders,
you ready for me to
including
let you
Donald
go?
Williams
Or
and
you gonna stay
Genevieve
calm
Hansen,
and let go?
they
Get in
grew
the car.
more
Now
and
we're
more
gonna talk
and more
or
upset
whatever. If y'all
with
felt
these
threatened
officers.
that big. But no, they
You've seen
murdered
it this
him.
morning.
They murdered him.
But you will also see it from the
That's
perspective
murder.
of the police officers.
He thought he was
As
gonna
the
get away
crowd
with it
grew
because
in
these
size,
people been getting away with
seemingly
that
so
forever.
too did their anger. And remember, there's more to the scene than just what the officers see in front of them. There are people behind them. There are people across the street. There are cars stopping, people yelling. There is a growing crowd and what officers perceive to be a threat.
Okay.
They're called names. You heard them this morning. A fucking bum. They're screaming at him, causing the officers to divert their attention from the care of Mr. Floyd to the threat that was growing in front of them. At this location, questions emerge about the reasonableness of the use of force. And this will ultimately become one of the decisions that you have to make. To answer these questions, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the evidence will show that the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension investigated the Minneapolis Police Department's training and policies. You will learn about things such as the authorized use of force, proportionality of force, excited delirium, defensive tactics, including prone handcuffing, neck restraints, maximal restraint technique, the swarm technique. You will learn about rapidly evolving situations and the Minneapolis Police Department's decision-making model. You will learn about crowd control, medical intervention, de-escalation, procedural justice, crisis intervention, and the human factors of force. That is, what happens to a police officer or any person when they are involved in a high-stress use of force situation.
De-escalation, because he would have de-escalated
And you
the
will
crowd
learn
if he would have took
that
his
Derek
knee off
Chauvin did
of George
exactly
Floyd's
what he
neck.
had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year
Period.
career.
And he knew that. They all
The
know
use
that.
of force is not attractive, but it is a necessary component of policing.
Not
The
overuse
evidence
of
will
force.
again demonstrate that the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension conducted 2 searches of Squad 320. You will learn that in the second search of Squad 320, agents recovered several pieces of partially dissolved pills. You will learn that these pills were again analyzed, were again shown to be consistent or similar to the pills found in the Mercedes-Benz, in that they contained methamphetamine and traces of fentanyl. Moreover, these pills contained the DNA and saliva of George Floyd.
He has life on the
Which leads us
pills?
to
They
our
have
final-
disintegrated pills that they found on the
Our
ground.
final location.
They were disintegrating.
Hennepin County
They were
Correctional
melting,
Center.
but they still had his
He
DNA.
licked them. He
The
licked
evidence
them.
will
He
show
licked the
that
pills with
officers made 2 calls
Sugar.
for
The
emergency.
pills is already dissolving.
Those
That means
calls
they
were
got
within
wet.
1
How you
minute
gonna
and
say it's
30
his
seconds
saliva?
of each other.
Yeah.
The first call,
He licked them
officers
pills
called
before
for
they started
paramedics to
choking him out.
arrive
He
code
tried going
2
back.
because Mr. Floyd had a nose injury. He was bleeding
That's what
from
they
the
tried to
nose.
say.
That occurred during the struggle. Mr. Floyd banged his face into the plexiglass partition of the squad car.
How
You will
is it
see the
bleeding?
blood evidence in the squad car.
What?
That first call came at 8 o'clock, 20 minutes, and 11 seconds. The second call was what's called a stepped up call, or a code 3 call, meaning get here as fast as you possibly can. That call was made and placed at 8 o'clock, 21 minutes, and 35 seconds. You will learn that paramedics arrived on scene at 8:27 and 18 seconds, just 19 minutes after Officers King and Lane arrived, within 6 minutes of it being called a code 3, and they did what they refer to as a load and go because of the crowd. They came, they picked up rather than attempting to resuscitate him or treat him on the scene, they loaded him into the ambulance and they drove to a location several blocks away to begin their resuscitative efforts. And you will hear and learn that Officer Thomas Lane accompanied them for part of that time. You will learn ultimately that Mr. Floyd was transported to the emergency department at Hennepin County. Efforts to save Mr. Floyd were made at the direction of Dr. Bradford Wankeed Langenfeld. Again, he took important tests. He ran blood samples and blood gas samples. He took certain obtained very important pieces of information.
He didn't die any
We
other
will learn
place.
that
He
later
died there.
that evening Mr. Floyd was pronounced dead.
No. Later on that evening, my ass, when y'all took him off into the abyss, out of here, he died on the scene, my nigga.
He was already dead.
He was
When
dead.
y'all
We
drove
saw
off.
him urinating on himself.
And you will hear of several
We saw him.
interviews that Dr.
We
Baker
saw him
had
turn
with law
off all the
enforcement,
way.
where he discusses the cause and manner of death and what that
They're trying to
actually
tell us what we
means
seen and we
according
didn't
to
see.
what he saw present in Mr. Floyd's
It's
body.
crazy.
And some of this evidence is extremely important to the final determination of Mr. Floyd's cause of death. The medical findings include things such as the blood gas test that was taken at HCMC that revealed Mr. Floyd had an exceptionally high level of carbon dioxide. Dr. Baker found none of what are referred to as the telltale signs
Nigga
of
was
the
holding his
situation.
throat.
There were no bruises to Mr. Floyd's neck, either on his skin or after peeling his skin back to the muscles beneath.
Y'all
There
peeled
was no
the skin back?
petechial
In
hemorrhage.
the autopsy, see if it was any bruising. 'Cause
There
that
was
means
no
he and Neil on
evidence
him
that
and made
Mr.
him
Floyd's
die.
airflow was restricted, and he did not determine to be a positional or mechanical asphyxia death.
He's a black man.
At the time Mr. Floyd was in the
That's
hospital,
not fair.
a femoral blood draw was taken. That blood draw was analyzed by a lab. The results of Mr. Floyd's toxicology screen revealed the presence of fentanyl and methamphetamine, among other things.
Took a
And it
eval
would be important
the day
to
before.
know the difference between fentanyl and methamphetamine.
That's what they trying to say. Cause that's what they put in.
The autopsy revealed many
really
other
meth.
issues, including coronary
Crystal meth.
disease, an enlarged heart,
Not eat
what's called
pills.
a
Molly.
paraganglioma, which is a tumor that secretes adrenaline, swelling or edema of the lungs. And the state was not satisfied with Dr. Baker's work. And so they have contracted with numerous physicians to contradict Dr. Baker's findings. And this will ultimately be another significant battle in this trial. What was Mr. Floyd's actual cause of death? The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd died of a cardiac arrhythmia and occurred as a result of hypertension, coronary disease, the ingestion of methamphetamine and fentanyl, and the adrenaline flowing through his body, all of which acted to further compromise an already compromised heart. At the conclusion of this evidence, you will be instructed as to the law, the elements of the offense, and the court will give you detailed instructions on what you must find to convict Mr. Chauvin of these charges. But when you review the actual evidence, and when you hear the law and apply reason and common sense, there will only be one just verdict, and that is to find Mr. Chauvin not guilty.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Yes, Harry. Hey,
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Good morning. My name is Jerry Blackwell, and I apologize for talking to you through this plexiglass, but it's probably the least of the gifts that the pandemic has given us. You're going to learn in this case a lot about what it means to be a public servant and to have the honor of wearing this badge.
I can't get it off the screen.
It's a small badge.
Yeah, so, I just want to talk about real fast because I don't understand why his opening statement would be that of an opening statement. First of all, I want to skip everything and start at the top with this bogus drug. Methamphetamine with
Percocet.
No, what's the other one?
Fentanyl.
With fentanyl is a bomb. Come on, that doesn't even.
I never heard of that.
Why would you start there?
By the way, they lying.
No, I don't want to hear that. So then now you're saying that this man was extremely high. He's drunk. This is the reason why he's asphyxiated. Why it's no bruising under the muscle. Are you kidding me? 9 minutes. Lay down and let me put my knee on the back of your neck for 9 minutes. If it ain't nothing, everybody, let's do it. Judge, get down here, you too.
Facts.
Let me lean on your neck for 9 minutes. Because if George would have had his neck on his knee on his neck for 9 minutes, shoot him down.
Now all of a sudden,
It's
just mind-boggling.
I can't
believe the points that he was making. The fact that there was it was carbon dioxide in his blood. He tried to skip past that, but all of the points that this man was trying to make, it was like, okay, but he's on trial for the murder, so let's talk about the murder. I understand the bruising on the neck, but it just happened. To be honest with you, I really, he choked that man. He killed that man. We all watched it. We watched him pee on himself. We watched him call for his mom. We watched him pass out. Now, for them to take him knowing that he was in that state from one place to another place a mile later and then take him to the hospital, George Floyd was already dead. We saw him die.
He is in an ambulance. They were supposed to be attempted to resuscitate him on the way to the emergency room.
Right, we saw him.
Why would you go and stop and then try to resuscitate him? He's already not breathing.
Right. So
it is zero breath activity. Why would you drive him out and then stop if you did not slowly or an inch or a quarter of any situation of any breath was recovered? So why would you stop? Why would you not go faster to the hospital?
And then they try to use the fact that there was, a mob crowding around them, and it's their job to diffuse the situation. Well, the way to diffuse that situation was to take your knee off his neck, because that's the only thing that everybody was yelling at you guys about. It was your over excessive use of force. You guys had he stood there, and then not only that, but not only I believe. For 7 of that 9 minutes that he held his knee to George Floyd's neck, he had his hands in his pockets. People like that, you could tell, first of all, he had some kind of authority issue. This is what I can do, so this is what I will do. And then not to mention he's white. And white men been doing this to black men for a very, very long time.
And it's okay because I can do it because guess what? He was on drugs. Listen, hypothetically speaking,
if you didn't do what you did.
George Floyd used drugs. With you knowing that in your training, you're supposed to hinder an airway of someone who may be asphyxiated or may be, you know what I mean, under the influence and ODing. What? That means you are helping them die.
They killed him.
I see somebody ODing, foam coming out their mouth. I'm not going to pin down their neck. So I don't really believe that. I don't know how they was able to even come up with this, or they thought that this was something that was correct or something that
they
was
can't
okay.
even defend. Like,
that's what are you talking about? Like, it doesn't make nothing makes sense. Nothing that he said makes sense. Then you're saying that, oh, it was a fake $20 bill. Really? Now all of a sudden it was a counterfeit?
We thought it wasn't.
I thought it was a statement released from the store stating that it wasn't.
Right. I mean,
once they investigated it, I don't understand. But like I said, you got to be careful what you hear because it's all different type of things.
Facts.
And that's to throw you off so you're not paying attention. So now everything is George Floyd. He did it. He was in the store. He was drunk. He was this. Yeah, they seen him. They came outside. They kept asking him to come settle his bill. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, and then everybody in the car is trying to wake him up. They even called his daughter. They even trying to, wow, this is so much. I'm appalled. Because if the store kept coming out and they see that he's asleep, why are you calling the cops and not the ambulance?
Facts. It's just so much to do.
Yeah, he did something, but he's asleep. If they're in the car saying that he was asleep several times and for a long time, and they've been trying to wake him up because the store kept coming out, when did the store address George? When was the address? If he's asleep, they're saying that he's asleep. The ex-girlfriend and the friend. But the store is coming out telling him they need him to pay. I don't understand how that works.
My boy Mike from On the Mic with Mike is in the building. How you doing, Mike?
Mike.
What's going on, ladies? How y'all feeling?
Feeling great. We in the building, live and direct. You already know what it is.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, so I see y'all doing the show and y'all talking about this ex-cop that is on trial for obviously for killing George Floyd. I was watching a little bit of it earlier. My whole thing is, like, if you were watching some of the witnesses, I forgot the brother's name that they was interviewing. He was, I think he had on a white shirt at the time, whatnot. Anyway, he was talking about how he was like a wrestler and all this other stuff. And the prosecutor was basically asking him, like, oh, how often do you train? And, like, where are you at? This and the third. Asking questions that had nothing to do with what's going on at the trial. And I was like, yo, this is what the next couple of days or however long this trial is going to be like. It's going to be nothing that actually happened and everything that has to do with nothing about nothing. They're just trying to see, all right, look, George Floyd, it's like Ray said, George Floyd was on drugs and that's it.
Word.
They don't understand it. They think that we're foolish. They're throwing all those things out there so we can lose focus on the fact that he pinned him down and you constricted his airway.
Right.
Point blank, period. You stopped his airway.
And 27 times,
when you
George
kneeled,
Floyd.
when you got him to the ground, when you kneeled on his neck, he was breathing. When you got up, he was dead.
Right.
You did it.
Right. And for
what else you want to talk about?
27 times, George Floyd pleaded for his life, telling this man that he could not breathe. And that man sat on his neck and just held himself down on him. And he did it with the most arrogance. That is what's the problem. That is what that attitude and that mindset is the problem. You understand what I'm saying? And for anybody to even see any justice in defending him is a problem. Everything that man said, everything that the defense attorney said, it felt like it was made up gibberish. It didn't even add up to this man. Why did he stay on his neck? Your job is to detain him. Well, he was damn sure detained, especially after he urinated on himself. Why did you continue to have your freaking your knee to this man's neck? Why did you do it? You killed him. You murdered him. You were the cause, regardless of whether George Floyd did drugs before that, regardless of whether he was drugged up off of that, regardless of whether he was drunk, regardless of whether he was having an asthma attack. That is a trained professional. He is not supposed to take lives like that. That was murder, and there was an EMT on site. She is licensed. She is her job to help.
They did not help immediately. When he stood up off of George's neck, they did not rush in immediately. They left him there.
Right.
Then they started helping.
They threw him in the bus and then left.
All right, Mike. All right, see you later.
All right,
Mike.
Take care. Peace. But that's just what gets me so fired up. Mm-hmm. You know? I feel like the noble thing to do in this situation, knowing that you murdered him, is just to plead guilty. To take that shit. Mm-hmm. Because you did it at the end of the day. And you took an oath. You took an oath. That gotta mean something to some of y'all out there. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want to continue, if white people want to continue to say y'all not y'all grandparents, y'all didn't go through with y'all grandparents, and y'all better stop acting like y'all grandparents. Y'all better come out of that mentality. And to be honest with you, take y'all oath serious. Stop putting people in them blue shirts. Stop putting people in protective states that hate people. Because that man hate people. He had a mental illness before this. To take a life, you have to have a mental illness. He took a life in front of all those people who pled and begged for him not to take the life. They said out their mouth, "You're killing him. He's going to die." And he did not. He refused to take that knee off.
And all nobody stopped him. Nobody stepped in. Nobody intervened. Nobody said no, stop. Nobody said that's enough. No one said this is it. Nobody pushed him off. Nobody tried to help. They stood there and they watched. Every professional is on trial here today. It ain't just about him. Everybody should be reprimanded. Everybody should be held accountable. How dare you? Because if it was one of your fellow employees or your fellow colleagues or your fellow bosses or anything, you'll jump in immediately and try to help. So why was this situation so different? Because he was using drugs and he OD'd and took a bomb. So somebody take a bomb, you pin him down? I don't even understand that.
It's just terrible.
Please.
So in other news pertaining to the new George Floyd trial, the prosecution revealed today that multiple surviving police officers, including the police chief and lead trainers, are going to testify against Derek Chauvin. This is big because this is not something that is common in situations like this when it comes down to police brutalities. Usually when the boys in blue come through and they do something to you know who or you know me or who, whatever, they hold each other down. You know what I'm saying? But in this situation, I think it's going to be different. I think it's going to be because a lot of the police officers like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Too much happened in arouse of the situation, and he got to pay for this. Yeah. And he did it on camera, like it was so blatant.
Exactly. Right on It's right on camera. What trial? Why do we even waste the time of it? Like, goodness. Like,
and he showed no remorse. None. Never, not one time during the entire
He don't even care.
Event.
Smirking. It's not even serious to him. It's a joke. Oh, I know I'm walking away. I'll kill him today. Like, come on.
I wish we can hear what he said when he called it in. Like, oh, yeah, he's gone. He's done up. You know what I'm saying? Because those EMTs look like police officers that picked George Floyd up anyway. Mm-hmm. Threw him in the ambulance, and then they supposedly drove him an hour away. Mm-hmm. I mean, a mile away. Before they took him to the hospital. But that man looked like he needed an
hour away before they even pulled over to start CPR. He's already not breathing. You drove him a whole nother mile? 3 minutes of no air on the brain. Are you kidding me?
This is what.
And then drove him to the hospital abruptly.
Right.
That's.
It's just too much.
But you know what? He died because he had a lot of drugs in his system.
Yeah, and that carbon dioxide helped a little bit too.
That carbon dioxide.
That knee helped a lot of it too.
That knee, and you know what? The knee was at the top of the list.
The knee was at the top of the list, but according to his lawyer, there was a lot of different factors, and George Floyd was taking Molly's, E-pills, and bombs, and all kinds of things
that he
never even heard of before. Like, he had all the experimental drugs, you know what I'm saying?
All of them.
Word.
Oh, new.
He was like, Baby D.
No.
Baby D. She know all the snacks, all the new snacks.
All the cookies, all the cakes, all the drugs, all the stuff.
Word up.
But you know, I mean, you know, you come to a point where you see it so much it don't even surprise you. You know what I mean? And you gotta laugh at it. Because it's like, damn, just right in our face. You just gave his family that big ass settlement. And then you gonna stand up and degrade they family, they brother, they father, they son, they friend character like that.
Right.
When he's seeing the cops, he's seen them, so then he looked at them and then threw the drugs in his mouth. Come on.
That didn't even sound right. That ain't even sound right.
Because if that's the case, why you ain't rush him to the hospital and just detain him there? Handcuff him to the bed and let him pump his stomach.
Look, they got some shit.
At that time, you still put him on the ground, put your knee in his neck. Like,
ain't enough cover up in the world.
Man, listen, I look, we're going to be following this. We're going to be getting into it. We're going to talk about it. We got time for some positivity?
Yeah, we definitely got some positivity.
But listen, keep a close watch on everything. We're going to be coming at you. We're going to be giving you updates on this. We're going to be, tune into our pages too on Instagram. Make sure you check us out on everything, on all social media platforms, and be looking, because we're going to be having links and everything, live, Zooms, everything, like, because we need to talk about this. We need to not be quiet, and we need to let them know what's right and what's, like, what we're not going to accept. Like, we're not going to accept it. You're not going to keep doing this and then try to make us believe it. Even if he get away with it, they need to know we know y'all full of crap.
Facts.
We know y'all full of crap. It's all right, but we know. So you don't even got to pretend no more.
Facts. And another thing, before we get into the positivity, I want to send my condolences out to Barack Obama as he lost his grandmother, Sarah Obama. She passed away at the age of 99 years old. So rest in peace, Miss Sarah Obama, and our condolences to the Obamas and the family. It's hard times. A lot of people are losing their loved ones. And you know what? I want to give a major shout out to everyone and anyone who has lost someone, especially in the last few years. It's been hard on a lot of us. I've lost people. Miss Reyes has lost people. Yes. Mike has lost people. A lot of our people has gotten sick. And then there's all this speculations of the vaccines and everything else that's going on. So we want to say, we want to send our condolences out to the people who have lost people. And we want to just tell people to continue to pray for each other, to continue to be there for each other. We are the community. We have to start with us. We have to show, we have to lead by example. You know what I'm saying? And we have to spread the positivity. Yes. It's not just going to spread by itself. You know what I'm saying? So, in other news, reality television personality Kimberly D. Worthy is known as a woman who infamously freaked at dismembering a whole chicken, and forgot to put sugar in her. But let me tell you something about this reality chick. She has launched an online course on how to use perspective writing to get on TV. Okay, so
interesting.
Right, it is interesting. This launch is the latest installment of Kimberly's online education business, which consists of teaching thousands of creative writing, English, poetry, and English second language ESL classes to national and international adults and children worldwide. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So you can check her out at KimberlyDWorthy.com. Shout out to the queen.
Yes. Shout out Kimberly.
At KimberlyDWorthy.com with your interest. So I wanted to shout her out. I also wanted to shout out, I have some more things that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
A black couple who owns a restaurant that caters to the homeless partner with indie artists to raise funds. Okay. Singer Maximillo Nelson has dedicated his new song to Drexel and Honeybees, a donation-based restaurant, and is offering $1 downloads to help keep the establishment open amidst the pandemic.
Oh, well, that is so nice of him. Raising money, helping them out, just so they can stay afloat. And sometimes, we do be needing that, and I appreciate them for, saying, hey, look, let me come in here. Let me help y'all out. I see y'all struggling, but y'all done been here. You know what I mean? Everybody need help, and it must be something very important to the community.
Word to bond. And you know what? I wanted to give a big shout out to Energy Radio. Energy. We have some new merch coming out. It's going to be on the website and available for purchase in the upcoming days. Most likely by Friday. Friday for sure. Thursday is what we're looking at, but Friday for sure. We're going to be releasing a whole new line. It's super awesome. We're getting 420 ready. Okay,
420.
So we are big cannabis supporters. I believe in the healing of THC, of cannabis. I believe
natural herb remedies.
Right, natural herb remedies. I also believe in the healing of moringa seeds, but we're gonna get into that later, some other time.
Get you some moringa. Look it up.
They do wonders for your skin, for your body, for your metabolism.
Everything.
I'm just telling you. But I also do believe in cannabis, so we are getting 420 ready. So look out for the merch coming soon. So you already know what it is. We are the Black Sheep right here on Energy Radio. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, enter_G_radio. Make sure you follow your girl at Sugar_Cosby on all social media platforms. That is Sugar, SUGAR_COSBY. You already know what.
Yeah, it's your girl right here. Follow me, Miss Raya 87. That's MS_Raya, RAYA_87 on Instagram.
Okay, make sure you tune in. We will be back Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. for another episode of The Black Sheep. My boy Mike, shout out to you.
Hey, yo, Mike.
_Brown_Ward. Make sure you check him out on Instagram as well, yo. We out. You already know what it is. Thank you for tuning in. Another dope episode. I think I'm going to play a song.
Play a song. Come on, let's get it.
Yeah. All I gotta say is, if I could speak, most these niggas be talking, but they don't practice what they preach. Yeah, I do this for the whole, yeah, I do this for the street. To my homies locked down with them shackles on their feet. Gotta make it out one day, so my partner we gon' eat. Look my baby in the eyes, then I lay her down to sleep. Staying up all night to get anything she drink. I'ma do it for her, cause they don't want it for me. Yeah. And when them nights get colder, I'll be a rock at my shoulder. Lift the weight up off your world, I carry borders. Yeah, all I need. I'ma turn this pain to a trip to paradise. I'ma turn these tears to a smile. I'ma turn my enemies to skull emojis with my heart on my sleeve like a style. I'ma turn this pain to a trip to paradise. I'ma turn these tears to a smile. I'ma turn my enemies to skull emojis with my heart on my sleeve like a style.
Before we get up out of here, I want to give a crazy sweet shout out to DH1 TV Network. Shout out to DH1. Okay. Make sure you check out DH1 TV Network and all the dope shows on the station. You already know what it is. Thank you, Miss London Bundin.
Download it on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick.
Right.
Get the app. Get the link. Get the
app. Get the link.
Get all of it.
Join the fun. The boys got a show called Gas.
Gas.
Y'all gotta check that out on DH1 TV Network Kids. It's
yes,
a dope
all
show.
my athletes, all my gamers, and all my animes, get ready. It's going to be something that you're going to love. You will love it. You'll love it. Your kids love it. It's all positive. It's all just coming together and just giving us something to talk about in our own blog. And they can call in and they can, you know what I mean, play different tournaments and it'll be featured and they're going to love it.
Okay, games, anime, and sports. Gas. You already know what
Gas.
it is. DH1 TV Network Kids. Energy Radio. DH1 TV Network. We got
Everything.
the People's Network. Pledge allegiance to yourself. Let's
To
go.
yourself.